All right, we got to let it breathe while we get in the Facebook groups in here, making sure I bring in the right Facebook groups. Don't want to start streaming to the wrong ones here. All right, waiting for the green sharks. Got one.
Come on.
No,
Come on.
come
You know
on.
you
Still
want
waiting
to.
on one. You can do it. All right, there we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Valley Deep Divers. I am your host, Erick Trickel, and joining me as always is the one and only Lance Sanderson. Lance, my man, how are you doing on this wonderful Friday night?
Dude, it's awesome to be here, as always, here on a Friday evening to talk Denver Broncos football. Doing good, though. Like, we got a new tree planted in our backyard. If you guys hear chirping behind me, we just hatched some new chicks. So we got chicks in my office right now. That sounds terrible to say, but yeah, new chick hatchlings, and then we've got quails behind me as well in the incubator. Doing good though, man. It's fun to be here, get away from real life, and just talk some Denver Broncos football. Talk about these wide receivers, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. It does look like we are having a bit of an issue with one of the Facebook pages, but there's nothing really we can do about that. So unfortunately, they're not going to be able to tune in unless they go to the other Facebook group or to YouTube. But it's a wonderful Friday night, and I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk about some Broncos on this. What's going to be a wonderful weekend. Father's Day is Sunday, and I want to wish
Yep.
a happy Father's Day to all the fathers who are listening in on this. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and get to eat and relax and enjoy your day or do whatever it is that you want to do. Because I know there are some fathers out there who they don't want to relax; they want to just do some fun projects of their own around the house or whatever. So whatever it is, hope you guys have a wonderful Father's Day. But we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about the Denver Broncos, and we are going to be talking about the wide receiver room and kind of how it's shaping up to be and looking at right now, even though we still have a lot of process to go before we get to the 53-man roster cut downs in the regular season. But before we get into that, I do want to say hello to a couple people here in the chat. We have Ernie May saying, go Broncos country only. Go Bo Nix for 6. Bo Nix 13-4 and beyond. We have Paul coming in and also saying, good evening, Eric and Lance. And David Kilgore's coming in asking, do you guys see us getting any free agent wide receivers? Hot on the heels of the Denver Broncos signing J.K. Dobbins. Uh, do we see them getting any wide receivers, Lance?
No, they brought in Will Shepard, formerly out of the University of Colorado, for a tryout. And while there was a video going around about Bo Nix throwing a quick out route pass, nothing came of that. I don't think that the Broncos are going to address this wide receiver room going forward. I think that what they have in place is pretty much what you're going to see. But at the same time, it's going to be fun to talk about this wide receiver room, especially in training camp. Now, what we're seeing out of it right now is your typical Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Devonte Bailey. Like, there's the guys that you kind of know are going to be on this roster. They're kind of here right now. I don't see them going out and getting any free agent wide receivers to add to the room. They're just going to kind of trust what they've had. And Sean Peyton has really kind of said for the past 6 months that he values this wide receiver room more than everybody else in the media, the entire fan base. They've pretty much said straight up, we're going to trust the guys that we have in tow right now and just kind of build around this room the way it is. So to me, no, any free agent wide receivers, if they do go and get one, it's a lower level guy, just like a training camp body, something like that, just to kind of help compete with the bottom end of this roster. But for the most part, no, this room is what it is right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if they bring in anybody at wide receiver, it's basically turning that bottom of the depth chart a little bit.
Yep.
Those last couple of guys and over there. But even then, they've had some praise for those guys at the bottom of the depth chart and how they're growing and how they're developing a little bit.
Yep.
So it's always a possibility to turn that bottom of the depth chart. Especially when you get to training camp and get to preseason games, and when injuries, knock on wood, are more likely to happen, and hopefully they don't with the Broncos, even for their training camp bodies or training camp guys. So no, I don't think they go get any free agents. I think they just kind of roll with what they have and stick with stick with the young guys and keep trusting in those young guys.
Yep.
But before we continue this conversation, we do have a word from a presenting sponsor tonight.
Yeah, guys, it's summertime, so Broncos country. Make sure that this is your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat it up, enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. Get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and very many more options.
Yeah, guys, Factor absolutely powers your day with satisfying breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, and premier dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. It's easy to savor more this summer. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. Get started at factormeals.com/milehigh50 off and use code milehigh50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code milehigh50 off at factormeals.com/milehigh50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. And thank
Thank you,
you,
Factor.
Factor, for the sponsorship. So, getting into this wide receiver room, the big conversation here is obviously, wide receiver 2. That's what it's been
Yeah.
for a while now. And the expectation has kind of been Devonte Bailey. But the issue is we just got done talking about injuries. Devonte Bailey has missed some of these mini camp practices because he's dealing with a lower half injury. Can't remember if it's a knee or a thigh. He's dealing with something. And A.T. Perry is as well. But A.T. Perry, I don't think is a guy either one of us expect to make the roster.
No.
But Devonte Bailey, he's competing for that wide receiver 2 spot. How much is missing this time hurting him?
Oh man, that's a difficult question to answer, quite honestly, because of the consistency that he showed last season in his time on the field. I mean, 45 receptions, 500 yards, something about like that, a handful of touchdowns as well. He showed the capability of being a capable number 2 wide receiver opposite of Courtland Sutton. I don't think that it's necessarily a huge factor until you factor in what Pat Bryant has done. Pat Bryant has stepped out as the 3rd round pick for this Denver Broncos offense. He's shown consistency. He's shown capability. He's shown consistent route running, consistent hands. He had one drop, but right after that made another huge catch in the red zone for a touchdown. Like, this kid is going to be a player for this team. With Devonte Bailey, whether it's a knee, a thigh, whatever the injury, it doesn't sound like it's going to take him into training camp. But when you got a guy that is highly drafted, and a 3rd round pick is highly drafted, they expect this guy to come in and play. Devonte Bailey, I'm not going to say he's on the outside looking in here, but he's got a tough road to hoe. Like quite honestly, with Pat Bryant and the consistency he's shown, like it's going to be an interesting wide receiver 2 battle for sure.
Yeah, it is. And I would say that him missing time, it's always a problem. Even in mandatory minicamp, when you're missing a time with an injury, it's a problem. Even though he has that last season with Bo Nix, you're still missing that extra time to get the chemistry down, to get timing down, and stuff like that. And when you go back and watch last season, there were times where the timing and chemistry was off a little bit.
Yep.
So missing that time where Pat Bryant is able to practice and make those moves and showing up well, and he's gotten quite a bit of praise. Talking to a few people, he's very much in the running to be wide receiver 2. Some of the expectation is that Courtland Sutton, expecting to get a deal done with him sometime between now and probably October. It might carry over into the season a little bit and get a deal done for him for another 2 or 3 years. And then Pat Bryant being set to take over that number 1 wide receiver spot when they do move on from Courtland Sutton. And then Devonte Bailey, he was a 7th round pick. He's older for a rookie. So you really have to wonder how much room for growth there really is. And from some of the people that I've talked with is he's not showing this high ceiling that some of these other receivers have, which isn't surprising. He's just being very reliable and showing up well. I'm not trying to say he's doing poorly or anything like that. So missing this time where Pat Bryant is able to step up and show what he's able to do. Sean Payton had a comment about how he's surprisingly explosive, and he, all these other things that he brings to it. It's a lot of legitimate praise for him. So it's going to be a fun battle to watch when we get into training camp and really see what these guys can do when practices are more open to the media and to the public. When we get to training camp, when we get to some scrimmages, it's really going to be interesting to see what they can do, because even though you can tell a lot from wide receivers in mini camp practices, it's still very limited, and it's very much skewed in the offense's favor, for the wide receivers' favor. So when you start allowing more contact and more physicality with the pads on and everything, that really can separate players. I don't think Devonte Bailey will struggle there. I don't think Pat Bryant will struggle there. I'm just saying is that's going to be a better opportunity to get an idea of what these 2 players bring.
Yeah, and Sean Peyton spoke highly about Pat Bryant the other day, saying there are little things. This is quote: "There are little things we're coaching up, but you like what you see. I like what I see. He's tough. There are things where he's catching on, like one over the shoulder. There are things that you're immediately on those guys. It's good to great. That's what our coaching is able to do. Like it's with Pat Bryant, he's coming in immediately and showing the capability of making these contested catches. He's showing the consistent capability running routes and getting himself open. And yeah, again, it's mini camp practices. There's not a whole lot you can take away from that. But when you come back and you ask questions to Sean Payton and he goes into a glowing review about a player that is a rookie coming into minicamp, and then the interesting comments that he had to Parker Gabriel and Chris Thomason talking about Devonte Bailey and the injury that he has, that's it. It's all done. Whatever it is. When you hear, the glowing review, the concerns maybe about Devonte Bailey going into camp, like it's notable for sure. I don't think there's much you can take away from that, but to see that Pat Bryant is getting this glowing review from Sean Payton, that to me is, I'm here for this. I like Pat Bryant coming out of Illinois. I think the contested catch ability that he brings is something that Devonte Bailey, he also brings out as well. But Pat Bryant he's a better separator. He's a better at the contested catch point. He's younger. He's going to be cheaper, and he's going to be a player for this team. I think that Pat Bryant is going to be wide receiver too going into training camp, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Now, just quick note here: we are only going to be up for about 20 more minutes. So if you guys have any comments or questions or anything, make sure you get them in the chat. Of course, super chats and stars are the best way to guarantee we get to your question. But we appreciate you guys for joining in, joining the conversation. It's just the downtime of the year, so shows might be a little bit shorter for the the next few weeks and everything like that.
Yep.
Even though there's medical issues going on as well, not delving into that. That's keeping the morning shows going. I'm not sure about the status of the morning shows next week. But hopefully we'll be able to go and everything's all good on that front. But we will definitely keep you informed if you guys follow us on Twitter. But anyways, getting back to this wide receiver room, moving on from Devonte Bailey and Pat Bryant and even Courtland Sutton a little bit. Courtland Sutton kind of is what he is, right?
Yeah.
With this many years in the league, we know what he's going to bring. We know what he is. The one that I wanted to talk about is Troy Franklin. Now, I've mentioned Troy Franklin as if there is one of these wide receivers that is at risk of losing the roster spot, it's Troy Franklin. Not saying he will, not saying he is at risk. I'm just saying if he was. Now, Troy Franklin, Sean Payton was asked about him and the steps that he's had this offseason, and he said, and I quote, "You haven't been able to see all the plays, but there have been a number of explosive plays he can run, and I would say a strength of his is ball in his hand after the catch. He can run after the catch. He's doing well." It's a nice review, but not exactly a glowing review, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those ones. If somebody asks a question, here's kind of what it is. And so you got to hope that you see more out of it. And the big thing that we got to see is it's great to hear that there's some explosive plays that aren't being seen to the public. But again, wide receiver drills can be a little bit skewered towards the offense in the receiver's favor in OTAs and minicamp. What can Troy Franklin do when the physicality is there and when pads are on, something that he had issues with last year? Can he still catch over the shoulder? Can he still have that catch focus? Despite me being down on Troy Franklin, I am excited at what he can bring because we all know coming back to college that he does bring that explosive element to the field, and the Broncos definitely need more explosives from this offense. It's part of the reason why they brought RJ Harvey in, primarily for the running game, but they need it in the passing game as well. So, Lance, my question to you with Troy Franklin is, how much at risk do you think he is of losing a roster spot? Like, give me a percentage, basically. What percentage do you think is that he's set at being on the roster? 100% meaning he obviously makes it, 0% meaning he's off.
Probably around 60%, to tell you the truth. And a big reason why I say that is because Sean Payton also values bigger receivers. And he said that the other day, saying, bigger, taller receivers, guys that are more physical with the line of scrimmage, guys that can block, are guys that you really want to have on your roster. But even though Troy Franklin is not the greatest blocker, he does bring that frame. He does bring some physicality. He does bring some explosiveness. It's a different skill set than anybody else that they have with the size receivers on the roster right now. Sean Payton also talked about saying, this is quote, there's that saying that repetition is the mother of learning. You're seeing him play faster with a much greater awareness within each play. He's extremely explosive. And I think that he's, say, like 5 pounds heavier, a little thicker. He's had a really good spring. So to me, to just write him off and say that, yeah, him and Marvin Mims are going to play the similar role, that's not necessarily the case. You still want the size. You still want the downfield vertical aspect that Troy Franklin brings to you. He also, Sean Payton also praised his ability after the catch. Get him the ball in his hands and let him go to work. Like, Troy Franklin has some wiggle. He has some play strength.
We got to see that on the field before I agree with Sean Payton on that.
But I'm not going to disagree with you. But these are Sean Payton's words, So yep. I got to take him at this point at face value. Like, we haven't seen it in camp. We didn't see it last year. Let's see what it goes into year 2 for him. To me, I think 60%, somewhere around there, is probably on the roster. Pat Bryant and what he brings as a blocker, and as that, I can run the dig route, I can run the slant route, I can run the crossing route, be the physical contested catch receiver, that Troy Franklin hasn't shown that ability yet. He works well on crossing routes in space, where you can allow him to catch the football, turn and run. That makes a lot of sense to bring that kind of a skill set to this receiver room. But where does Mims slide into this? How much do you want to get the ball into Marvin Mims' hands? Where does Troy Franklin sit in the special teams area? I think Pat Bryant's probably going to be a better special teams player because he brings more physical aspects to the special teams role if he's tasked with that, coming as wide receiver 3 or 4 on this roster. So call it 60%, call it 50%. I think Troy Franklin is a player that, if nothing else, he'll sneak into the practice squad. But I think he is, at least right now, wide receiver 5, if not 6 on this roster.
So I would put it Sutton and then Bailey and Bryant, whatever way, then Mims, and then probably as wide receiver, I would say wide receiver 5. In the position, though, I would say he's wide receiver 6 because Trent Sherfield's still around.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Troy Franklin offers you nothing on special teams, so he has to win a spot. He has to win a spot with what he does on offense. And Peter Middleton comes in saying he's on the roster 80% and 4th rounder, so he'll get an opportunity. He was a 4th rounder, and he was a 4th rounder that Denver traded up for. But Sean Payton has been very quick to move on from players that he drafted. Well, when he was in New Orleans, he moved on from a 2nd-round pick after 1 year. He moved on from a 3rd-round pick during that first year. Mm-hmm. So he is not, that 4th rounder status isn't necessarily a reason that would keep Troy Franklin around. He has to go out there and show it. And I think that if any player is going to push him off, it's going to be somebody who offers up more on special teams. And I'm looking at 2 undrafted free agents here. There's Joaquin Davis. He's a 6'4" guy, 200 pounds out of North Carolina Central. He's big. He can catch. He brings that explosive element that we talk about with Troy Franklin, that vertical ability, but he also blocks, and he also offers up returner ability. Or Courtney Jackson, who has been looking out of Arkansas State, who's not quite as tall, 5'11", but he's been absolutely killing it as a returner throughout the work that they've done so far. And they are definitely looking for that second returner with opposite Marvin Mims with the new changes that they brought to kickoff. So I do think that Troy Franklin is most likely going to make the roster. I think I had him at like 65%, 70% to make it when I went through and I broke down the wide receiver position. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but there is an opening for these guys behind him to make it just because of how little he offers on special teams. And that's where, Trent Sherfield, maybe they're okay with not having that other receiver contribute on special teams because they brought in Trent Sherfield, a gunner who is going to hopefully help bring up the coverage units that the Broncos had, which were sometimes hit or miss and, penalized pretty frequently last year or the last 2 years, really, under Traymon Smith. So again, still room for wide receiver. And then Marvin Mims, you want to see more growth from him as a wide receiver because right now, you mentioned about the similarities between him and Troy Franklin. I don't think there are many outside of their ability to challenge vertically, but the way they do that is very different.
Yeah.
Troy Franklin is more vertical receiver, whereas Marvin Mims is more gadget player.
Yeah.
And you really got to see growth from Marvin Mims there and before you can contribute on him, because right now he's looking like he's going to be wide receiver 3 or even 4, depending on what happens with Bailey and Bryant, because either one of them can end up in the slot. We could see a top 3 of Sutton, Bryant, Bailey. and that be the predominant usage of the wide receivers, the main three that they use.
Yeah.
So Marvin Mims, even as great as he's been on special teams, we still got to see more growth on him for that. Now, going back to the comment here, or to the chat here, we have Val Staer coming in saying hello from the Western Slope. The Western Slope, if I remember correctly, that's the Grand Junction area, right? If I remember right.
I think so.
Spent a lot of time on the Western Slope. If I am correct in thinking it's Grand Junction, actually related to the guy who founded Grand Junction, and there's actually a park in the area that's named after my family. So I have a lot of connections to that area. We have Gagambang dueling saying have Barron and Harvey sign their contracts. RJ Harvey has. Jade Barron hasn't yet. Still waiting on that. Not sure what the holdup is, but at least it's not, carrying over to the media like some other contract conversations from first round picks. Fat for Sertan coming in saying, will Barron take over McMillan's role or will they play him where he's needed? Jade Barron's going to be the starting slot. Jaquan McMillan, if he makes this roster, which I've kind of come around to the fact that he should make it as a depth piece because you have Jade Barron who can play outside or inside. If Riley Moss gets hurt, who's going to be that other boundary corner in basically in nickel package, which is basically Denver's base, you have Barron in the slot when there's only two corners and you have Barron on the boundary. But if Moss gets hurt, then you can move Barron back out to the boundary and insert McMillan. But yeah, right now, Jade Barron, he is the starting slot. McMillan status is up in the air if Denver keeps him or tries to trade him or not. We have Glenn Ashley saying, good morning, Eric, Lance, and the Broncos country. We will have a much better idea once they start practicing in pads with full contact. Bryant is going to start. His blocking, route running, and catch radius is something we don't have. Definitely agree. And I think that people overrate Devonte Bailey as a blocker a little bit, which helps give an edge to Bryant. We have Glenn Ashley also saying Franklin is going to have to make a huge ground make huge ground to make the roster. Our offense requires blocking, and even the unsigned guys are more well-rounded. This is a big thing for me with Troy Franklin is can he step up as a blocker? Because last year, watching him try to block, Jerry Jeudy was like an offensive lineman blocking compared to Troy Franklin. Like that's how bad it was from Troy Franklin.
Where do you want me to step in here? Because I got a lot of things to go around.
Just go ahead.
So I want to go back to Marvin Mims here for a minute because obviously all-pro punt returner, gadget player, like you said. And to me, the addition
and all-pro kick returner.
Yes, all-pro kick returner as well. The addition of RJ Harvey and with what Marvin Mims brings to you as a gadget player, I think you can get really creative with both those players in the backfield at the same time. You've got the vision, the explosiveness of RJ Harvey, the ability with the ball in his hands of a Marvin Mims. Why not get creative with it? Throw them both in backfield at the same time, get misdirection going, and see what you can do. You can run read option one way with RJ Harvey, throw the backside screen with Marvin Mims. Why the hell not? It makes a lot of sense to do something like that because we saw a lot of success with Marvin Mims coming out of the backfield. I mean, he was explosive as a runner. He had a handful of different explosive runs coming out of the backfield in the middle of the season, including in the game against Kansas City in Kansas City, the game where famously the Broncos lost because of the blocked field goal. Marvin Mims out of the backfield in that game was absolutely spectacular. You have an opportunity here with the weapons that you've brought in to create so many multiple different looks, different alignment formations, different threats coming out of not only the backfield, out of the slot, coming from the boundary. To me, with Troy Franklin, the vertical speed and the size that he brings obviously is a different skill set than Marvin Mims brings, but you still have that ability with Marvin Mims to then stretch the field vertically with his speed. You can stretch it horizontally with either one of those players. Put them on the field at the same time. See what somebody can do going to work. Put the ball in their hands. They both excel with the ball in their hands in open space. RJ Harvey, another player like that. To me, I don't think that this team is going to be attacking the field vertically nearly as much as what everybody wants them to do. I think that with Sean Peyton and the play designs, with the crossing routes, the dig routes, the slant routes, everything I've been saying over and over and over again, you're going to see a lot of that happen with the players that they have right now, getting the ball into playmakers' hands in open space, which accentuates Bo Nix's ability to read the field and deliver the football on time, on target, and into his playmakers' hands. This offense is going to be very horizontal in my opinion. everything is going to be stretching the field, stretching the defense, sideline to sideline, and opening a lot of space. And when
in
you have
order to
players,
do that, you still have to challenge vertically.
well, I don't disagree with that. And they tried it with Troy Franklin how many different times, and it only connected one time. They actually
Looked at
they
a few
threw
more than that.
with
Not
Troy
not
Franklin
much, but the point
specifically.
is, so what I was getting at was, even if they aren't attacking vertically,
Right.
you still have to attack vertically. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is, even if they're not throwing it deep consistently, you still have to have that threat and that presence, because if you're just trying to keep things open up horizontally, there's not very much room there. It's what, 75-ish yards, whatever it is, sideline to sideline.
Yeah, 53 and a half.
Whatever, however wide it is, there's not much room to challenge to spread it out horizontally. You got to work it vertically, which is why, a guy like Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims, even if, say, they were pretty much carbon copies of each other, why they still work together, because of that aspect of, you still have to have that element to stretch the field. Otherwise, this opponent's safeties can just cheat the coverage, play close to the line of scrimmage, and don't have to worry about it, and your offense basically becomes a dink and dunk. And even going back to last year, Sean Payton challenged vertically a lot more often than a lot of people think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was something that was actually a little bit surprising, because going back to his time at New Orleans, the vertical offense was there, but it wasn't nearly as consistent. It was like a handful of times every single game, and 1 to 5 times back in New Orleans, compared to 5 to 10 times that we saw last season with the Broncos.
Yeah.
And even going back to the year before that, it still wasn't challenging vertically as much as it was last year.
So let me ask you this question. Based on what Sean Payton did in New Orleans, I mean, you had guys like, obviously, Marcus Colston, who is a Devonte Bailey kind of archetype. You had a guy like Brandon Cooks, who was kind of sideline to sideline speed. He could take the top off as well. Deveray Henderson, Lance Moore, like all those guys that they used to take those deep shots on. But then you had your consistent guys in like a Michael Thomas, even Marcus Colston working on dig routes and stuff like that. How does this roster, how does this wide receiver room tie in exactly to what we saw from 2007 to 2013, somewhere around in there with Drew Brees? Like,
I think the NFL has changed a lot since then, and Sean Payton's adapted with it.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. But to me, like, where Sean Payton has still remained consistent is he wants to attack the middle of the field working horizontally. Yeah, he's got those guys that Troy Franklin can take the top off vertically. Marvin Mims can do that. Cortland Sutton can even take the top off vertically in terms of contested catch situations. Like, they have guys that can actually do that. But to me, it's always going to go back to, we want to attack the middle of the field and the second level, behind the linebackers, in between the linebackers and safeties, working those second and third window areas, and then also in the quick passing game. That all ties in perfectly with what the Broncos have currently, not only with Bo Nix working the second and third window like we saw last season in weeks 9, 10, 11, and 12 with Cortland Sutton, but you saw him attacking well on the flats in the running back, the check down game. You saw him working well in the slant game with Cortland Sutton. You saw him working well in the slant game with Devonte Bailey. This is tying together to be something very similar to what we saw 2009, a team with the New Orleans Saints that went to the Super Bowl and won it against the Indianapolis Colts. You've got a very similar skill set in terms of what everybody brings from the skill position players, and a quarterback that knows how to distribute the football right there. So I'm excited for this offense coming this year. Like, I really am. And the way that everybody's talking about Bo Nix, whether it's the veteran players, Sean Payton, the media that's in attendance, everyone's saying Bo Nix is really taking command of this offense. He's showing a lot more comfortableness. He's showing a lot more poise. He's showing everything that you want to see from a quarterback that knows how to work within an offense and within the skill set of the players that he has. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun, if nothing else. I think this offense is going to be poised to be like a top 12 to 15 offense at least, maybe top 10 offense.
Now, before we get out here, just a couple things. Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Eric and Lance. Hope you're feeling better, Eric. I am. Thank you. I got 2 players that could be breakout players this season. DeAndre Tillman and Brandon Jones. Who are yours? Lance, I'll pass this off to you. 2 breakout players. I'm going to change it up a little bit from Phil, who has 2 defensive players. 1 offense, 1 defense.
One offense.
No rookies.
I think Marvin Mims. I think this is the year of Marvin Mims. I really do. I think that this is the breakout year from him. They're going to utilize him out of the backfield, utilize him in motion, obviously use that speed. And I think the horizontal aspect of Marvin Mims' ability, his ability to catch the football in open space and then create room, create running space, create missed tackles, which is what is a big skill set from a kick returner and punt returner. I think that's going to translate to this offensive side of the football this season. On defense, is it too soon to say Drew Sanders? Like, honestly, with what you've heard out of camp, and I've heard some whisperings from some other people saying
he's not making the roster, man.
Dude,
he's not making the roster.
Drew Sanders is one I got my eyes out on. But on defense, man, it's hard. Dondre Tillman's one, Savion Jones, but that's a rookie. You said no rookies. Man, I don't know. Like Moss, the defense is so set right now. The defense is so set right now. Everybody on the defense is going to contribute. You know what you're getting from the defensive players. It's hard to predict a breakout player on the defensive side of the football. It's probably not PJ Locke. He had the opportunity last year and he didn't live up to that billing. You brought in Talanoa Hufanga to play that PJ Locke role. McMillan, we already know what McMillan is. Who do you have for defense, Eric? I'll give you Marvin Mims on offense. Who do you have for the defensive side of the football?
I'll take Brandon Jones.
Okay.
I think I went back and I watched his play last year when he was working in, single high coverage, and I'm confident that he'll go out there and he'll do well, extremely well. I think that I think by the end of the season, we'll be talking about him as a top 5 safety in the NFL.
I thought he was good after the rewatch. I didn't think he was that good, but
I'm not saying he was a top 5 safety in the NFL last year. I'm saying after this year, he will be, because he's going to be playing in that role full time with a more reliable player next to him in Talanoa Hufanga, and then instead of having to cover up for PJ Locke's consistent mistakes.
Yep.
I'll take that, as well as hopefully better play from the cornerbacks, with hopefully Riley Moss able to stay healthy and Jade Barron hopefully being more reliable than Jaquan McMillan was in the slot.
I got a quick question for you. Talking about Riley Moss. When Riley Moss obviously went down with the knee injury, we saw a big step back from the Broncos defense, especially in pass coverage. My question to you is, was it not having Riley Moss on the field in coverage, or was it Riley Moss not being on the field in coverage, creating less opportunities for the pass rush up front? Because I think that's an interesting dichotomy that nobody really wants to talk about.
It was Levi Wallace was absolute garbage.
That's fair.
That's what it comes down to. And just tune on the Cleveland Browns game. Pass rush still got home. Pass rush still did well.
Yeah.
But Levi Wallace couldn't cover for the life of him.
Yeah.
And then even when you throw on the Cleveland Brown or the Cincinnati Bengals game, Riley Moss was rushed back from injury. They made that clear. They flat out said that if this game wasn't a playoff game, he probably wouldn't have played. That's been reported on. So, yeah, I think that I don't think he's a bad one to go with being a breakout player for the year. My concern with him is, can he stay healthy? That's the biggest concern that I have.
I got one.
As for offense, I think my offensive breakout player of the year. See, for me, it's tougher for offense than it is for defense, because the easy one is the rookie. It's RJ Harvey. That's the easy one.
Yep.
I mean, Bo Nix would be an easy one, but I don't want to do Bo Nix, even though I think he's going to have a good year. I'll go with, you know what? I was crapping on him a little bit earlier, but I'll go with Troy Franklin. I think he really steps up and breaks out specifically as that vertical deep shot threat.
Yeah. And
in the screen game as that screen wide receiver.
And that makes sense. I mean, like I said, with the ball in his hands, the size, and his ability to slip tackles, at least what we saw in Oregon was high level stuff. I mean, he was able to
high level. That's a bit much. He outran
above
dudes.
average.
He didn't slip tackles. He just outran dudes.
Yeah, and still though, I mean, you get a player in space and put the football in his hands. He can do that. I think Marvin Mims' ability to slip tackles is actually better than Troy Franklin, which is why I'm going to go in that direction. But I'm going to go back to the defensive side of the football here because I obviously Damari Mathis is on the tail end of this roster looking forward, and he's probably not going to even make the practice squad. I think he's going to be done. But Chris Abrams-Draine, let's talk about Chris Abrams-Draine for a second here because he has that inside-outside versatility. He can play off the ball. He can play in press. He's a little undersized. He's definitely very thin, but the fluidity, the length that he carries, this kid could be if you move on from Jaquan McMillan and throw him in the slot to get a little bit more size in there. I'm here for that life.
The issue with talking about any depth corner is one of the guys has to get hurt for them to see the field.
Yeah.
Surtain, Barron, Moss will likely get hurt. He just has those, more minor injuries that cause him to miss some time. And with how long the season is, even Surtain, he's missed some time over the last couple of years. So it's likely, but is it enough time for Chris Abrams-Draine to really be called a breakout player? That's what my counterpoint is.
I get it. My counterpoint to that is one that you and I have gone back and forth on multiple different times.
My counterpoint to that is it's time to end the show. Go ahead.
Riley Moss playing safety with PJ
No,
Walk.
He's not playing safety. Okay, now time to end the show.
Come on.
It's not happening, Lance. It's not.
Let me speak. No, I agree with you.
As soon as you say Riley Moss playing safety, I know what you're going to say. It's as you said, it's a conversation we've had before. He's not being moved to safety.
My thing is, if PJ Locke doesn't show well enough as a depth safety, at least you have the opportunity to move Moss to play that
be
role.
More likely to use Jade Barron as a safety in certain situations than Riley Moss.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair counterpoint. I just wanted to throw it out there.
But neither one of them will be seeing time as a safety.
More than likely, no.
Sean Payton's made it clear.
Okay.
Sean Payton basically flat out said that Jade Barron is a corner, not a safety.
Yeah. I wasn't talking about.
Barron. Even though it's not Riley Moss, I think he's made it clear at some point during the season or last year even, that Riley Moss was a corner, not a safety.
Yeah.
So it's not something. It's not something they're trying. It's not something they're testing out. They like them both at corner. They're going to be keeping them at corner. Yeah. Peter Middleton is talking about Luke Wattenberg. Goes on to prove he's deserving to stay on this top level O-line. Hey, he was rated the 14th best center by Pro Football Focus, which was a bit surprising. But the question I have is, can the Broncos afford to keep him if he does excel that much? So
my thing is wasn't he the top 3 pass protecting center last season, but a bottom 5 run blocking center? He was great in pass protection, but run blocking is a problem here. And if you're playing inside zone and duo, you need your center to be the pivot man here. It's not sideline to sideline. You need your center.
Can we stop overrating centers for pass protection? You know how little they get one-on-one blocks.
I know. I'm right there with you, but he will, according to Pro Football Focus in their grades.
Pro Football Focus grades.
Wasn't he 14th in ESPN pass block run rate? Something like that.
He was middle. He was in the middle of the pack for ESPN's pass block and run block win rate.
Yeah,
he was between 13th and 18th for the two of them.
And he's a fine. My thing is he's better in pass protection and passing off players than he is in drive blocking and run blocking. And that's and when you play in a inside zone and a gap duo, specifically duo scheme run blocking assignment, he's not a guy that can latch on to an interior defensive lineman and drive him off the spot. Even in duo, there was consistency issues there, and that's a problem to me.
Just so you know, I had to get your blood boiling some way without just bringing up the fact that you're a Bo Nix hater. So I just had to get you.
I am a Bo Nix hater. I'm going to say this out here right now. I hate Bo Nix and everything he stands for. Got to play into the bit.
He's joking. Just to be clear,
I got to play into the bit.
But guys, that's going to have to do it for us. We appreciate you guys for joining us on this Friday night. It is the slow time of the year. Topics are tough to come by. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to reach out to us either on Twitter or on Facebook with any kind of topic idea, or even in the comment section below. We really appreciate that, because let me tell you what, it took me about 4 hours today to try to figure out what we're going to talk about tonight.
Give us something deep to talk about. This is Dove Valley Deep Divers. We like to do the deep dive analysis. Give us something deep to talk about. What are your opinions on the safety room? What are your opinions on the running back room? How that's going to play out? Give us deep dive topics. Hell, the NFL draft. This is an NFL draft show. Give us players that you want to talk about for the NFL draft. Give us something deep that we can dive in on. And
let's not do NFL draft just yet. Give me a little bit more break before we start diving into 2026, man.
I'm already starting summer scouting.
No, I'm there with you. I'm already putting together my board and stuff, man, but I don't really want to get into the conversation at the moment. Man, I just don't. It's too early.
No, for real though, guys. Give us something deep that you want us to dive into that it like matches what we do here. Like we love talking about the wide receiver room. We love talking about Broncos in general. Give us something different. Give us good topic ideas, and we'll read the comments. We'll get back to you, and maybe if you guys leave a good comment on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, anywhere you guys got it, leave us a topic to talk to, and we'll dive into it for sure.
Anyways, guys, that's going to have to do it for us. We appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Erick Trickel and at LanceS_MHH. And as the ticker says below, you guys can subscribe, like, and share. It is the best way to help the show outside of, donating or super chatting or stars or whatever it is. It only takes a matter of times, and it always helps us fight with the algorithm, which is always ever changing and ever frustrating. So we appreciate you guys if you guys can just do those quick, simple steps that take about 15 seconds in total. And also go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you happen to be listening to this, and leave a 5-star review for a chance to win some gear, not swag. I hate saying swag, every single month. You can follow us on Instagram at MileHighHuddle with an underscore between mile and high and huddle, and go to mhhmerch.com to get hats like this and the one that Lance has, or shirts. You can get your gear on, not swag. Again, I hate swag. Really got to let the boss know that. But you guys can go buy some awesome stuff there. There's mugs, there's hats, there's shirts for all the different shows. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/MileHighHuddlePod and facebook.com/MileHighHuddle, where you can get access to all of our written content. You guys can follow us, the mothership account at MileHighHuddle, where you can get access to all of our written content. And I'm continuing to go through and break down each position by position. I have offensive line, or tackles, interior offensive line, and interior defensive line all in and waiting to get published. So we're just waiting on that. You can also follow on Twitter or X, whatever it is you want to call it, at MileHighHuddlePod and at DVDD_pod for this show specific. As I said before, I am unsure if we will be live on Monday, as there is some medical issues going on, without getting into it. Not on my side, unfortunately. Nick, he made a post about that. A quick one. So there's some stuff with Nick's family. Unsure if we'll be here on Monday. Hopefully so. Hopefully everything gets figured out and taken care of. My medical stuff are pretty much taken care of. Dealing with a broken wisdom tooth that I have been dealing with for almost 8 months now. Last November.
It's been a minute.
Been creating me a lot of pain. Went to the ER. Finally got a dentist appointment scheduled. Finally was able to get through and get one set up for them to hopefully extract it and all that. So my medical issues are hopefully in the rearview mirror. But again, hopefully I'll be back on Monday morning or Wednesday morning. If not, you guys can you guys can find us here next Friday as well. And as I said, or as always, Lance, any final words before we get out of here?
No, not tonight. Just thank you all for enjoying the show, and thank you all for joining us. We definitely appreciate everybody. I mean, 94 eyes right now, 12 likes and reactions on social media. We appreciate everybody for being here tonight. It's obviously the slow time of the season. It's hard to come up with topics. Again, guys, you guys want us to talk about something, please send it out to us. Give us something to break down. Give us something to have some fun with. Have a fun conversation with you guys. We appreciate everybody for the super chats and stars donations. Obviously, that's what keeps the lights on here at Mile High Huddle. And no, honestly, nothing else other than that. You guys have a great weekend. Stay safe, take care, and always go Broncos.
Yeah. Again, make sure you guys have a wonderful Father's Day and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there listening. Hope you guys have a wonderful day on Sunday. I hope you guys everybody has a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys stay safe, don't drink and drive, and as Nick always says, make sure you choose kindness and compassion. And go Broncos. We will be back next Friday. Have a good weekend.